Joe was the door into a world of art that I assume that had I not met him, I wouldn't have opened that door myself. When I first met him, he was doing the kind of pointillist. I hate to label things, but that's kind of the closest equivalent label, although it was not a strict pointillism a la Seurat or Monet. It was his own invention. And when he was in school at Cooper Union in New York, which is an old scholarship school, he was actually painting abstractly. Abstract expressionism was the mode of the day, and so that's what he was doing. But he could do it so fast, he was so glib at it, and so facile, that he could turn out a picture in no time flat. And he finally realized that he needed to slow himself down somehow. So he started using his own version of a pointillist technique. And that enabled him to do an abstract underpinning of the work, which is underneath almost everything he did subsequently, and then place over that skeins of color, kind of veils of color, to achieve the ultimate surface that the paintings and the pastels achieved. He was a true colorist. He had a magnificent eye for color and more or less mixed his colors right on the canvas with that semi-pointillist technique that he had adopted. But he is well known, critically well known as a colorist. Joe grew up in Brooklyn. He grew up in a family that was an immigrant family, and Joe was very smart. Very bright kid as a child, and he realized that if he was going to rise above, so to speak, the economic level of his family, that he would need to adopt certain American ways of being. What he wanted was to become an American. And that, I think, tied in with his love of the landscape and love of the American landscape particularly. He rarely painted in the field on site. He would take mental notes. He would take some very bad photographs, deliberately bad photographs, often photographs in black and white, so he could be free to not honor the color a colored photograph would show. And he would bring that material back. He sketched sometime, just as kind of a shorthand for himself and for his memory. And then he'd bring it back to the Bowery, his loft on the Bowery, and nothing more contrasting than Yosemite and the Bowery, you know. He was an enormously generous person. He taught me a lot about generosity, quite honestly. I think I became a more generous person myself as a result of having known him. He was constantly giving, and you can see that in his work. The work is very, what can I say, juicy work. It gives you a lot when you look at it. And he was that way in his life. A part of his generosity was that he would give me work from time to time, a birthday present or a Christmas present or whatever. He would go up to Cooper Union to attend the sketch classes with a model that were offered in the evening. And so any number of those pieces are in my collection. Those are not necessarily things that Joe would have wanted to show. That's just to keep his hand in and keep him able to draw the figure if he needs to. Often, it's sort of like a pianist practicing scales. You don't practice scales at a concert. Joe's work is very accessible. It's pleasing to look at. Not that it's not challenging, but he was not that interested in a kind of in-your-face, politicized kind of expression. Rather, he wanted to celebrate the beauty of the American landscape.